Hello everyone, it's time for another exciting charging curve, and it's of the Volkswagen Id.7 Tourer with ID software 5.0. So after a range test at 130 kilometers an hour at temperatures between 18 and 26 degrees, I arrived with 6%, and then I charged at Ionity from 6 to 90%. And I did this because I heard rumor-wise that maybe the charging curve changed for the 77 kilowatt hour battery from ID software 4.0 to 5.0. And so I thought I have to test this. Maybe it gotten better or worse or something. And I did this, and then I didn't look while charging. I had stuff to do, but then at home I made my curve, and then I compared it to Hank, my Id.7, where I did a charging test from 10 to 90 something percent in December. So when it was cold, I preheated mid of December, but I preheated with the manual preheating button, so it was not fully, but almost at the perfect temperature. And there I see weird things, and I see that the power goes down, and I think it's because of the heat. So again, when I plugged in, it was around 26 degrees, and the car was standing in the sun, and it got warmer during the charging session to around 30 degrees. And we'll see. I show you the charging session that I filmed off, and we're going to compare it on both sides. One is Hank in December, and one was the Id.7 Tourer with the new ID software 5.0 on the other side. So you can see that first it looks fine, but then it crashes, and we see that on the curve it's a bit weird, and it's slower from 10 to 80% by a few minutes. And I think it's because of the heat. When I was sitting in the car, there was no AC on, so that the charging curve is not weird, because when you turn the AC on and I film the charging curve from the charger, it takes more power, because the AC will be powered from the charger and not from the car, and so the charging power is high even though it doesn't go into the battery. And the charging power you see in all of my charging tests, by the way, is from the charger. It's not what goes into the battery, because there's charging loss, and it depends on the car how much that is. Usually it's around 2-3 kilowatt or more. I don't even know exactly. And yes, but when I was in the car with no AC, I heard the fan go on and off the whole time, which happens, but I think on that day it was a bit too much. So I wonder if the battery of the Id.7 cannot be enough cooled in high temperatures for the power that it's charging, because that's what it means. When I was charging, it was, like I said, at Ionity, so there's no sharing of power. I've charged at Ionity many times, and I've never seen the power go down extremely, because there were more cars charging, and there was, I think, 1 or 2 cars charging, but none of these 2 cars were 800 volt system and charging with 270 kilowatts. So I would say maybe it goes down because the main line was too much. There was a lot of fans going, all the chargers were fanning, and I could hear back the transformers were a lot of fan noise, and the cars. And yes, and so we're going to look at the curve so you can see that, but I really think this was too hot for the Id.7, and it couldn't keep up with the power, so it lowered the power. You need an overview of your monthly cost for your EV. You want to know all of your charging sessions. How many kilowatt hours did you charge? What was your peak charging power, your ratio, AC to DC charging? You want to know all of your trips. Where did you go? What were the kilometers that you drove? And what was your average consumption? And you don't want to write all of this down yourself, then Tronity is exactly what you need. Tronity connects to your car. A lot of brands are supported, and then this is all recorded in the background, and with the app or in a browser you can see all of this data. They also have a 100% tax compliant driver's logbook. My viewers get 25% off if they use the link in the description below. So, okay, we start. Here's the charging session of the Tourer, and now here is from my ID.7 Hank in December. And I synced them at 10%, they're the same. And what you can see is that Hank, my car, has higher voltage now, and it goes even higher, but then it goes back down. They both limit 500 amp, that's what the CCS standard and Ionity can give you, that's all. I have more kilowatt hours charged here on the Tourer because I plugged in at 6% and Hank at 10%. And you can see I have 191 kilowatt earlier at Hank, and then I go down where the Tourer was higher, and now here's the crash. It goes down to 143 kilowatt where Hank stays above, but then it goes back up because, so I guess the cooling could cool the way that it should, and now we're at the same, and now again it goes down. So I think that the cooling couldn't match the heat that was happening, and now again another step down where Hank is higher, and we can see Hank is now at 55% where the Tourer is still at 53%, and so we have 2 to 3% difference. And again, look at the voltage, and now at 60%, 385 volt on Hank, and 60% here, 379. 6 volt different. But again, it's the same battery, but tiny little changes can happen. And here at 63%, I have 83 kilowatt on the Tourer. I have still 90 kilowatt at 70% on Hank. So again, it's lower. But what's interesting is at the end, above 80%, the Tourer is then better. So I don't know if the cooling got better, or in the Hank, because it charged so good, the battery was too warm and it didn't let so much in. Here we have it. No, 75 kilowatt now, 74 on Hank, 73, and the Tourer is at 80 kilowatt at 75%. Hank wasn't at that thing, and that's very, very interesting. And what we will see in the end is that the Tourer with this cooling problem took 29 minutes from 10 to 80%, which is okay. And Hank around 25.5 minutes. The problem is I plugged in at 10%, and so there's a ramp up process, and when you plug in and it's still calculating, Ionity is already counting the time. So it's 26 minutes when it is at 80%. But I think that the first 30 seconds it didn't charge, and it has to ramp up. So if I would have plugged in Hank at 8%, it would have been 25.5 minutes. And now I'm at 92%. We are getting closer, but still 4% difference. And now here I stopped with the Tourer at 90%, and I charged Hank to 100%, I think, because I did another test. But we can stop, no, 95%. But you can see that it was just going down twice, and I think it has to do with the cooling, that it couldn't manage the cooling and had to reduce the charging power. And here we have the glorious charging curve, and you can see it very well how much it goes down here right in the beginning. It ramps up again and then back down, and you can see it when I show you the comparison, that it looks like the curve will go like this, and then around 50% it looks like, yeah, this is then the normal curve and everything is fine, but it's not. And here is the comparison. Blue is my ID.7 charged in December, and red was the Tourer in August at 30 degrees. And you can see it well, it's underneath my ID.7 the whole time, and then here at around 75%, I would say it's almost the same. So this is, this could be differences in a bit of temperature in the battery or voltage of the battery difference on the charger and everything. This seems like it's almost the same. A tiny bit is the Tourer above, but from what is this, 30% to the 75%, my ID.7 was just better because it wasn't that hot. Also interesting for me is that the peak of 191, 192 kilowatt was reached later. where mine went down faster. So at around, what is this, 28-30%, it went 2-3% higher on the Tourer. So maybe this is ID software 5.0, I don't know. And if I would see this comparison with other cars, two different cars, I would say, yeah, the other car charges better than this. But this is just because of the heat. And again, this is not a problem. I'm fine with this. And does it take 3.5 minutes more? That's all fine. I'm just seeing the problem here that this is Bavaria of 30 degrees, where it doesn't have 30 degrees a lot, a few weeks a year. And you could be also in south of Spain, where it's 40 degrees and also in the sun. And important here is also, I did a range test before that, but at a constant speed of 130. I didn't accelerate like crazy and warmed up the battery and it was hot and then this happened. No, the battery was for sure at a good temperature, at least 25 to 30 degrees, where I noticed already with the OBD scanner that 25 degrees, 24, 25 is the perfect temperature that Volkswagen thinks for this battery to charge at its best. So when the thing where it says you can manually preheat the battery, when it says perfect temperature reached, it's around 25 degrees. So I didn't stress it. So what I see is if you drive a bit more powerful or accelerate a lot and then you want to charge where it's really hot, this could be a problem. Maybe then this gets even worse and it takes 10 minutes more or so to charge, or you do it more often. What if you charge and then go on and stuff? I hope that the cooling can then cool the battery down afterwards. And it looks like it's since the end here is the same, but here from the 30 to 75% it couldn't keep up, and that's why the BMS said let's put the charging down, the charging power. Yeah. And if you're interested in all of this, very soon at the end of September I will be getting an Id.7 Tourer Pro S with a big battery, which should have a way better charging curve and charges above 200 kilowatt. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see that. Also range test, of course, and it will come with 19-inch wheels. So it really will have range, not like the stupid 20-inch sport tires that I had just on the Tourer and cut 13% of range out of the car, or 11 point something, or 11.6%. That's just not good. Hello. So I'm excited about that. And very soon I will also be testing the ID.3 GTX in the beginning of September, but only for a few days, one day where I can drive it alone and test everything. I hope I can do a little range test with it, but I want to do for sure a charging test, since it's the new 79 kilowatt hour battery, so even bigger than what my Id.7 or this Tourer had. Yes, very exciting times. If you want to follow me on Instagram, BatteryLife1, and if you want to support the channel, there's a Patreon link in the description below, and here on YouTube you can do that via channel membership. And if you want to know what's happening behind the scenes, soon I have a few trips to events that I want to do a bit of background behind the scenes footage, then check out my third YouTube channel, Behind the Battery. But that's it for me. Thank you much for watching. Have a great day and take care. Bye.